Let's quickly talk about something that I see that a lot of people tend to overlook, right? Which has so many negative consequences, right? Why do people overlook this? From my observation, a lot of people will overlook this because they don't understand it, right? They've heard about it, but they don't understand it. Others have not heard about it at all. They don't know anything about it. What am I talking about here? I am talking about going through an estate planning session, right? What is estate planning? Before I answer you, let me introduce myself. My name is Yolanda Mnyengeza. I'm an attorney and a director at a law firm here in Gauteng, South Africa. Listen, an estate plan. In fact, let me not start there. Let me tell you about a scenario and then I'll explain to you how an estate plan, fits into this whole equation. So what tends to happen is that a lot of people, I meet a lot of people who tend to have a lot of issues when the estate of their family member is being administered. Remember, when you lose a family member, right, and they leave an estate, it has to go through an administration process, right? And during that administration process, there's a lot that needs to be done there, which includes, paying debts that you owed prior to your death, paying for taxes that are still outstanding or that are charged, and then distributing things to the people that need to be inheriting from that particular family member, right? Now, a lot of people get disgruntled when they see an executor selling properties in your estate when you've passed away, selling houses, selling, cars. And often they believe that these people or the executor is trying to scam them. Most of the time, the reason why the executor is doing that is because there's no money here. I'll make an example. You have a credit card of 100,000 Rand, and when you die, that's still outstanding because you never protected that particular credit card. Where do you think this amount of money is going to come from? Because the service provider who you owe 100,000 Rand does not want your property. They want their money. They want liquidity. So if you left no money here, where's the money meant to come from? We need to sell something so that they can be paid. Mind you, every one of us, when we pass away, when we're going through this administration process, we have to pay someone to do all of this, right? Because it's a legal process. So we have to pay someone. We don't have a choice. That is in terms of the law. So that's also another debt. So where's this money going to come from? So this is why then an executor, you'll find them selling something, right? But then obviously this is not nice for a lot of people. Hence they say that they believe they're being scammed. But the problem is what? The problem is the fact that you never went through an estate planning session, right? What is estate planning? So in estate planning, in essence, I'm going to simplify it. What happens is that you sit down with someone who specializes in estate planning. They look at your assets, they look at your debts, and then they calculate for you prospective taxes, what it could cost your estate, to be administered. The debts you have, is there anything that could be done right now to ensure that when you die, there's no outstanding debt? Right? There's no service provider that's going to come and say, listen, I want my money, because that's going to complicate things. So you sit down with someone who's going to do this assessment, and then they're going to advise you on the things that you should be doing. If, for instance, you should be thinking about taking out a life policy to cover certain things, they'll advise you on that. Or maybe you need to be doing an investment somewhere to cover certain, debts. They'll advise you on that. There's a number of things they will advise you on. But the purpose of you going through this is to ensure that when you die, your family doesn't have these problems. They don't have a situation where now the properties you've left behind have to be sold. Here's what you need to understand, right? The more properties you have in your name, it means the more your estate will have to pay in terms of costs. And these costs are not needed in the form of assets. They are needed in the form of cash, right? The taxes that need to be paid, they have to be paid in the form of cash. We can't take a couch and take it to SARS to pay them. The administration costs, we can't take a couch and pay an executor for that, right? And also your debtor, your creditors, when they come to collect that credit card that you had, right, when you passed away, it was at 100,000 rand. We can't give them a house. We have to give them money, which means what? Which means we sell. Even if that is the only property you have left, there's no other choice. We have to sell. Why is that the case? Because the law says we prioritized the creditors, the people that were owed by you. Then we distribute to the other folks. One thing that's not going to happen is that the creditors not be settled and you or your children or whoever is inheriting from you gets everything. It doesn't work like that. But a lot of people think it works like that, and that hits their families hard. We've seen, or I have seen, the only property being sold because somebody didn't go through an estate planning session. They have left so much debt. In some instances, it's not even a lot of debt. You see people, losing properties because there's a 70,000 rand and 80,000 rand owing in a credit card. We need money to settle that. Now you haven't left any money here. You didn't prepare for this. Your kids don't have this money. No one in the family is going to pay that debt of yours. So the only option now that is available is to do what? You gotta sell. Even if it means selling the roof that your kids have. Do you hear what I'm saying? Selling the only property your kids have as refuge. They lose it because we have to get money to pay the creditors. So I hope with this discussion, you're going to learn something and take the steps that you need to take. You're always welcome to contact us because if we talk about something, we definitely assist with it, right? So just make sure, guys, this kills the inheritance that you think you are leaving. Once you have too much properties, no money, you are building a problem for your family. Because remember, again, when you have too much properties, it means your value as a person is a lot, which means you are also going to be liable for a lot of taxes. Sit down with someone. Draw a proper plan. Make sure your family doesn't lose any of the things that you have worked for. I'll see you next time.